how to grow stubborn body parts. So the first thing we need to consider is genetics, satellite cells specifically. If you have a lot of satellite cells around the muscle, they will eventually grow and they will be converted into muscle tissue. Now it's important that you're also realistic, right? Because let's say you've been training 2 years and most people are watching this channel are beginner to intermediate, right? So a lot of you probably haven't actually got stubborn body parts because you don't know. You're not an advanced individual that has been training 5+ years. The second factor that we need to consider is adaptability. So by adaptability, I mean this. Say for example, there are 2 kids, right? One kid in high school, he was super kind of jacked, he had abs, everything, and he's been lifting for about 3 years, right? Now, all things being equal, he gained about 15 pounds of muscle, right? And the other kid, and obviously these are hypothetical examples, the other kid was very small, scrawny, he weighed like 135 pounds, and now he gained like, let's say 25-30 pounds of muscle. And that's what I mean by adaptability. Just because you're like very jacked when you're in high school does not necessarily correlate to you being even more jacked later on. So if you've been training less than 3 years, here's my advice, right? First of all, you probably don't even know what your stubborn body parts are. Other muscles will continue to grow while others will stop a bit. And don't start giving me an example of what's the best exercise for your inner chest. And I get this all the time in the gym. They're like, what's the best exercise for your bicep peak? Do this, man, do that. When actually you haven't even got a good bicep or you haven't even got a chest. So don't give me this inner chest exercise rubbish. So before identifying that you do actually have a stubborn body part, you do need to ask yourself a few questions. Are you actually properly disrupting homeostasis? And of course, homeostasis is the body being in balance. Are you actually hitting the muscles hard? When you're doing, let's say pull-ups, are you actually hitting your lats hard? When you're doing squats, are you hitting your quads hard? And are you actually doing the exercise properly to target that specific muscle group? And are you leveraging the muscles into the movement so they can get the most out of it? Again, using legs and quads as an example. When you do leg press, are your feet closer? Are they lower on a platform, or are they super wide? Well, if they're super wide, you're going to activate more of your adductors than your quadriceps. Are you going all the way down, full range of motion? What's your exercise selection like? Is it just isolation exercises? You're just doing leg extensions, leg curls to get big legs? Well, that's not going to be the end result, let's face it. Compound exercises are great for disrupting homeostasis. And do you actually feel the muscles being worked that you really want to work? Do you feel it? Have you got some type of muscle connection, right? And we know that's not everything. So say for example, you're doing chest. Are you doing cable flies or are you doing dumbbell flies? Which one can you feel it the most? Most probably the exercise that you can feel it the most, maybe do that one. And I'm not saying you should be feeling your muscles on every single exercise. Let's say you're doing a squat for 3 reps, you're most probably not going to feel your quads. However, if your main goal is muscle growth, you'll most probably, the majority of the time, be doing higher reps. Maybe about, let's say, 6+ reps. Also, what about your repetition ranges? Are you switching them up from time to time on compound exercises? Are you experimenting with them? Say, for example, you do stiff leg deadlifts, right? So you do 8 reps. However, before you did 15, but now when you do 8 reps, you really feel your hamstrings like shit. You're feeling them really being worked, right? However, let's say you do leg curl and you'll be doing leg curls for, let's say, 8 reps. And let's face it, most of the time on isolation exercises, you're not gonna do 4 reps. You're gonna do about, let's say, the majority of the time, for most people, 12 to 15 reps. And also take into account fiber type. You and I have different proportion of type 1 and type 2 muscle fibers, despite, say for example, the triceps being more predominantly type 2 muscle fibers. So if that like famous YouTuber out there is telling you, do this exercise, you'll feel your shoulders amazingly, well, not exactly all the time. And the next very important point is training frequency. So the big question here is, how many overloading sessions are you doing per week? So really pushing it. If you're doing more than 4 overloading sessions per week, well, most likely you won't be able to recover and adapt. And the bro split, man, this is another video altogether, but if you're a professional bodybuilder, sure, do the bro split. You need 1 week to recover because they can tolerate high amounts of volumes and they lift a lot more weight than someone skinny, scrawny guy that's been training 1 year. So for that reason, I recommend you have about, let's say, 2 to 3 overloading sessions per week for most intermediate lifters. And an extremely important question to ask yourself is your training volume too high? If you ask anyone in the gym and say, I've got a stubborn body part or something, you say, I've got stubborn calves or anything like that, because because let's face it, it's a very common theme, they will tell you to do more. But what exactly is more? Is that 100 sets or 1 set? What is it? The point I'm trying to make is that if you actually start doing a lot more, so let's say for example you train your back, right? And you're trying to train your back, let's say 4 times per week, let's say 5 exercises per session and a vast amount of sets, right? Now most likely you won't be able to recover from session to session and therefore not adapt and grow. And at that point, a very important question is to ask yourself, what is your maximal recoverable volume? So in simple terms, this is the maximum amount of volume that you can do and still recover. So to give a general recommendation, for most people it will be between 20 to about 25 sets per muscle group per week. So again, make sure you're not doing very little volume, that you're growing at a very snail pace, and make sure you're not going from 0 to hero and doing vast amount of volume so you can't recover and adapt. And the final point here is to take into account local and systemic fatigue. So for example, you hit your quads hard, your chest, your back, all the large muscle groups, right? Now, systemically, your body can't handle these vast amounts of probably loads and also volumes. The fatigue is just going to be out of the space. How are you going to recover and still grow? So here's the solution. Reduce volume on your stronger body parts. So let's say you were doing 16 sets for biceps per week. Now, put that on a back burner, drop the volume to about 10 to 12 sets per week, what's called maintenance volume. Now let's say your shoulders never grow, they're a stubborn body part. Increase the volume for your shoulders. So instead of, for example, you're doing 16 sets for your shoulders per week, now do 20 plus sets per week. But like I always say, gradually increase over a period of time. So if you hit your muscle groups super hard for, let's say 3 months, there will be too fatigued. So again, here's the solution. Hit them hard for, let's say 2 months, right? So for example, hit those shoulders hard for 2 months, then back off 1 month, drop the volume a little bit, and now all the other body parts that you've put on a back burner will now also be resensitized for growth. That's how to bring up stubborn body parts. If you enjoyed the video, please leave your thoughts down below. Subscribe to the channel. As always, stay positive, stay smiling, and I'll see you in the next one.